Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Manangaya, Namo Namaha. So I was going to keep going with Dhidhi, but so many of the videos that have any type of Lofa Taal information in them seem to be pretty busy with the views. So I've got a whole bunch of cool Lofa stuff I've been working on and slowly kind of writing stuff out. So I may as well get into a bit of Lofa Taal just to round out these sessions, and we'll be looking more at the hand practice that you do in Dhidhi gives you everything you need for the other tals, because you practice the threes, you practice the fours, you practice the bold jatis, the laya jatis, and tisra, everything that you need. All you have to do is reformulate those practices into your other tals. But essentially, you're learning everything that you need from your standard hand practices, even though they're not specifically in that tal. And that's kind of the disjoint that happens with a lot of teachers, is they give you all those hand practices, and even those aren't in Dhidhi tal even. And then they never really kind of connect those dots to how you can take that information and then apply it to your other tal structures. So people end up learning a lot of stuff that doesn't necessarily help them to become better players. Ultimately, they don't know how to use that information to better themselves. So we'll start to show some things in Dhadha. Basically, everything is going to be Kirtan stuff in these other tals, and we'll start to open up the basic foundational mantras, starting with the simplest ones and moving forward. And Dhadha Taal or Lofa Taal, depending on how you want to classify it. In tabla it's called Dhadha, but technically I understand it to be called Lofa Taal according to our sampradaya. So it has 6 beats or 6 matras in it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whereas Dhidhi Taal has 8, the 10 guards. So we have 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you've got that clap on 4, 1 and 4. 1's considered the Taal, and 4 is considered the Kali. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So keep in mind, you have the 6 matras there, and then within that you have to place your bold jati, how you want that to sit, and also what the laya jati will be, if it will be in catur or tisra. And we'll show you more and more complicated mantras, and I'm going to show you one now where we're starting with the basic mantra that people give, and then branch out from that and show you how you can change the laya jati to more complex things, or change the fingering, or add dugis on the bottom, different things like that. So we'll start into this. So the most basic mantra that everyone starts with, well, not everyone, most people start with the longer 12 mantras. They extend it into a guru and lagu, and they usually play that backwards as well from what it's supposed to be. But we'll get into all that, try to fix up Lofa Taal here so that people can play it nicely. So this is the most simplest one. Like everything, we always start with the guru. So a lot of people have been learning Lofa Taal backwards and starting with the lagu and starting with the closed and then moving into the guru at the end, and it's totally backwards of how the entire concept of mridanga works. So you never start with the lagu and then segue into the guru. It's always guru, lagu, open, close, right? Open hits, closed hits, open hits, closed hits. So this is the structure. So we're going to kind of reformulate things so that people can see how to play Lofa Taal properly, starting with the guru, segueing into the lagu. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So D, D, D. Okay, so we're gonna start learning doogies as well. So let's see here. So this, you want to use these 2 fingers here. And so the correct position is when your thumb wants to be totally flat against the mridanga. You see how it's flat right from my wrist all the way to the tip of my thumb? A lot of people are playing doogies just on this wrist joint here, and they have these big calluses. You see my hands, I have no callus whatsoever from playing mridanga at all. Very soft. And you shouldn't be all beat up and big calluses and stuff if you're playing properly. So you use these 2 fingers here, and so that's your position to make this sound, so that then you can make your doogie sound. The thumb presses straight down in the mridanga as these 2 fingers hit it. Like that. Alright? So your open is like this. And then when you want, you can press down. So you're still at that 45, just like here. See that? Exactly the same hand movement. Always at this 45. So you can practice playing the gay and then pressing down. When you're doing this movement, you want to hit that part right at the same time that you're pulling the thumb down. And then for the other ones, your fingers are just bouncing here. Dee, da, da, dee, dee, da, da. So I'm going to show you how to start using these in your kirtan, and how they can all be different, interchanged as well, depending on how you want to do things. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these D's are the doogies. A doogie is that whooping sound when you use your thumb, as I was just showing, to come down. Anytime you have a D, it can become a doogie. In most circumstances, we'll show some different circumstances where you don't want to do that, and a gay becomes a doogie instead. It depends on where it is in the mantra, and I'll specify for each mantra where it should be. But here, these ones, D, D. So you want soft here on the pad, D, D. And you want to make a nice strong doogie, D, D, right? So you want D, D. D, D, da, da, dhini. D, D, da, da, doogie, right? Doogie, D. So all the D's there are pressed downs on doogie. D, D, da. And then the das are just open like this. D, D, da, da, dhini, naka, tata, thini. D, D, da, da, dhini, naka, tata, thini. D, D, da, da, dhini, naka, tata, thini. Hare Krsna, Hare Krsna, Krsna Krsna, tata, dhidhi, dhadha, dhini, naka, tata, dhidhi, dhadha, dhini, naka, tata, dhini, dhidhi, dhadha, dhini, naka, tata, dhini. So that's that first one. So now how can that change? So in Kirtan, better players understand how to work a mantra, how to change things, how to make things feel differently, how to add things, all the different stuff that you learn in Mridanga, all the things that I'm teaching you. Hopefully you can start to see the patterns of how they apply all across your playing. And there's certain rules, like, so if you're playing a D, now that D can change to a dig, right? Dig, dig. So now you're going a doogie, but you're playing a nuk as well, right? Dig, dig. So if you don't want that soft D, you can play dig, dig. So now you're playing two nuks. Dig, dig, da, da. See how different that is? Like, D, D, da, da, D, D. Next one. See? Different. Very nice. But, in order for this to be nice, you have to have gone through the hand practices that I've given and learn all the nuk practices and become proficient in hitting this nuk. Because if it's not super strong and very clear, then it's going to sound... You may as well stick with the D, because it's not going to sound like anything anyways. You need to be able to create a very nice doogie sound and a very strong nuk. It should be right in your face. Da, da, dhini, naka, ta. Da, da, dhini. Hare Krishna. So where are we here? Yeah. So Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krsna, Krsna. So you can play that. So you've got the Dhidhi, dhadha, dhini, naka, tata, thini. And then you've got the dig, dig. Instead of the D, D, you go dig, dig, da, da, dhini. And this is nice because you can play the same mantra, but you change it. And all of a sudden you got 5 or 6 mantras, and you haven't even changed the style of your playing. You haven't even changed the framework of the first mantra yet to move into a new one. So your playing becomes a lot more vibrant and a lot more interesting, because you're expanding and taking one thing and making it 6 or 7, and the audience slowly understands the building of it. And Krishna will appreciate that playing more, because you're using your intelligence and you're engaged and you're trying to make things more ecstatic, rather than just sticking with the same old. Now, in saying that, you can more, if your skill level is, low and you are not inclined to music per se, and you're not going to spend your whole life trying to figure Mridanga out, that's great. All you need is the D, D, da, da, dhini, naka, ta. And even if you can't play the nut, just go D, D, da, da, dhini, taka, ta, ta. Da, da, dhini, taka, ta, ta. Right? Krishna will accept that as well. You're playing with the same proficiency as anyone else, because you're understanding what you're doing, you're understanding the mantra, and you're understanding how to make it sound nice given your skill set. So that's all you need. But we're just learning how you can build upon these. So we've got the 2 there now. So what's the new one, right? So now we only have our laya jati is in catur here. We have 2 in each one, dhini, naka. So now we're going to double that. We're going to go dhinitini instead of dhini, right? So now we've got, and this could be Dhigdhig or Dhidhi. Dhidhi, dhadha, dhinitini, naka, tata, thinitini, dhidhi, dhinitini, naka, thinitini, dhidhi. And see how that dhinitini, d, see how that flows? Or dhinitini, te, nak, right? So these three fingers are flowing into the nak or the one, ti, ni, right? So that's very important in Mridanga. You always want to follow someone who's giving mantras and teaching in a way that the finger patterns are always flowing properly. You should never have things that feel unnatural or feel forced. Everything should flow in Mridanga to conserve the energy. If you're running into a teacher that's giving things that don't feel completely natural and like they're flowing, then there's definitely something wrong with those particular mantras, because Mridanga is all about this beautiful conservation of movement all the time. Di, di, da, da, dini, tini, naka, tata, dini, tini. Remember to keep those fingers curved, pads, not any slapping, don't let them come open. Di, di, da, da, dini, tini, naka, tata, dini, tini, tini. Very nice. Nice clean knuck sound as well. So this is di, di, da, da, dhinitini. And you'll see dhinitini is in the same matra, one matra. Di, so we've doubled it. Di, di, da, da, dhini, dhini, naka, da, da, dhini, dhini, dhini. Switching. Dig, dig, da, da, dhini, dhini, naka. Dig, dig, da, da, dhini, right? So the dig, dig, press down. Dig, dig, da, da. Dig, dig, da, da, dhini. And then the dhini is pressed down as well. Dig, dig, da, da, dhini, dhini. So dig, dig, da, da, dhini, dhini. So let's look at that. So we got dig, 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 da, da, dhini, dhini, naka. Dig, dig, da, da, dhini, dhini. You can go like that as well. Dig, dig, da, da, dhini, dhini. Or dig, dig, da, dhini, dhini. Dig, dig, da, da, dhini, dhini, naka. Like that. And this stuff will seem so easy to you as you continue to practice all these hand practices I've given. Especially all these, all of these thumb, the four fingers through thumb, pardon me. All of those loosen your fingers so much. Like it's pretty transcendental how if you put in the effort, it really does help a lot, you know. So that's double. So now we're gonna go to a double in again, quadruple speed. Keep in mind we're playing a very slow kirtan and a very slow first beat here, so we have the ability to do that. So next one is di, di, da, da, dini, 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 naka, ta, ta, in slow speed. Dini, tini, 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 tini. So the two double double speed, or quadruple speed, sorry, is dhinitinitinitini, 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 all in one mantra. Before we had just dhinitini. Before we had that, we had dhini. Then we went dhinitini. Now we're going dhinitinitinitini. So we've doubled it each time. So this is how you can make your mantras more interesting and add more stuff here. And we're changing the speeds here of the laya jati. We're not necessarily changing from catur or tisra. It's just the catur is we're putting more stuff in there, going from first speed to fourth speed within a mantra. Pardon me. Di di da da di 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 naka. Di di da da di di naka. Da da di di di. Right? So you want to be very particular about this sound so that it's not being open or sounding like this. You don't want that. You want them closed. You want them very subtle. You want them on the pads. You want to hear them crisply if you were ever like mic'd up or something too. You don't want to hear this scratching sound. It took a long time to not kind of scratch across my mridanga. Hare Krsna. See, all you hear is those pads just sticking so nicely, whereas before I would get this sandpaper sound because I wasn't able to stick it nicely and be very focused on moving perfectly into the mridanga. Instead you get this like... So you want nice crisp sounds as well. Hare Krsna, Hare Krsna, Krsna Krsna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krsna, Hare Krsna. So you can change these around. So I want to go through all these up until this point now. So we've got di di da da dhini naka tata thini. Second one, Dhigdhig da da dhini naka tata thini. Third one, di di da da dhinitini naka tata thinitinitinitini. Next one, di di da da dhinitini naka tata thinitini di da da dhinitini naka. Di di da da dhinitini naka ta. Di di da da dhinitini naka. And you want to get right into the right? So you can just practice those as well and get proficient at that. Really want to come nicely and strong into that naka. And I mean, you're going to find this pretty difficult at the start, I'm assuming. So just bear with it. Keep pounding away in the hand practice. The next one we've got is now we're going to change the laya jati into tisra just for one of the matras. Di, di, da, da, and we're going to do it in 4 times speed. So we're still playing 4 times speed like dhinitinitinitini, but we're changing the jati there, the laya jati, to tisra from catur. So here we have dhidhi, dhadha, dhinitinitinitini, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we're going to dhidhi, dhadha, and now Dagurugur, tisra, dhini, tisra. So now we're playing tisra laya jati in 4 times speed. So we've got D, D, da, da. I'll show you lots of different ways of playing this. We'll just play open right now. D, D, da, da. And you can play with 4 fingers here if you want. D, D, Dagurugurdadhini, naka. D, D, da. Dagurugurdadhini, right? Dagurugurdadhini. Dagurugurdadhini. 4 fingers. Dagurugurdadhini. Naka, tata, takurukurtathini. Dagurugurdadhini. Dagurugurdadhini. We've already learned this. Dagurugurdadhini. So this is cool. So you can play D, D, da, da, D, 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 da, 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 dhini, naka, ta, ta, da, dhini, D, D, da, da. 4 fingers. D, D, da, naka, ta, ta, da, dhini, D, D, da, 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 dhini. So let's chant with that. Hare Krsna. You can play 1 finger, 4 fingers. I like to play 4 fingers here to go into that open da. Hare Krsna, Hare Krsna, Krsna Krsna, Hare Hare. Now the D's, if you want this even more cool, can become digs. Hare Krsna, Hare Krsna, Krsna Krsna, Hare Hare. Dig, dig, da, da. So you're going dig, dig, da. So you're going dig, dig, da, da, Dagurugurdadhini, right? Press down. Dig, dig, da, 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 da. With those 2 fingers, da, da. Dig, dig, da, da, Dagurugurdadhini. So let's show the bottom end here. Dig, dig, da, da, Dagurugurdadhini. Dig, dig, da, da, Dagurugurdadhini. So you're on that Dagurugurdadhini, you're getting that whoop as well there. Dig, dig, da, da, Dagurugurdadhini. So that whoop at the end is very important as well. Obviously, this is quite a technical situation on the bottom here as well. But just starting to introduce this now. So we got D. You want to just rest your hand just kind of on the chakra in between the gob. These two fingers here, and you want to be able to be in that position to make this whoop, dig, doogie. So the position for this open doesn't change much. All you do is press that thumb down, and it's totally flat, you see? Thumb is out, away from the index finger. And this can also be D, D, da, da. You can go like that too. So we've got last one here. D, D, da, da, right? Or sorry. D, D, da, 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 dhini, da. D, D, da, da, Dagurugurdadhini, naka. D, D, da, da, Dagurugurdadhini, naka. Dagurugurdadhini, naka, right? Dagurugurdadhini, naka. See how the 3 fingers to 1, always perfectly flowing. So let's chant with this a little. Hare Krsna, Hare Krsna, Krsna Krsna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, So you can play as you get better. You can play with just your index finger and 3 finger for Guru Gur as well there. Becomes really nice if you're playing with your fingers. It's nice to maintain that as much as you can. Sounds a little off to me sometimes switching between 4 fingers and thumb and fingering. So as you become more and more advanced, playing Dagu Gur with your fingers and 3 fingers will be very similar, except when you're starting to play faster or a lot of Guru Gurs, it's nice to play with 4 fingers and thumb as it is easier. But at slightly lower speeds, at slightly less volume, you can get away with playing with your fingers a lot in most circumstances, and definitely something to look at. I'll point out how to do this and when and where and stuff like that. But yeah, it's nice to maintain this so you can play your knocks. Dhig, da, da, Dagurugurdadhini. Dhig, da, da, Dagurugurdadhini. So it's much nicer to maintain the fingers there, especially if you're playing the knocks rather than switching. So that's another thing that you can work on, starting to practice using Guru Gur with your fingers instead of 4 fingers and thumb. So that looks like D, D, da, da, and then da's 1 finger then. Da, da, Guru Gur, right? Give it the game. Let me see. Yeah. Dagurugurdadhini. Dagurugur. Gain and again. Yeah. Dagurugurdadhini. 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 So you play it. So instead of going Dagurugurdadhini, da, gain and again, becomes D, D, da, da, Dagurugurdadhini. Alright, I'm back there. I was getting confused because I haven't actually taught. I was just like, how do I teach this? What's going on? Anyways, So yeah, so Gena the Gena with 4 fingers becomes Gena the Gena with your 3 fingers in one. So Gena the Gena, da Gena the Gena, Dagurugur becomes Dagurugur, 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 Dagurugur. So it's the same thing. So as you get comfortable with your and it sounds much nicer too in a lot of circumstances, which is why it's really nice. So here we're going Dhidhi, da, Dagurugurdadhini, right? Dagurugurdadhini, da, gurugur, wait, Dagurugurdadhini, Dagurugurdadhini, da, geta the gaina, dadhini, da, geta the gaina, dadhini, Dagurugurdadhini, 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 Dhidhi, da, Dagurugurdadhini, Dagurugurdadhini. Alright, that's enough. My brain's fried now. Until next class, Hare Krishna.